chip dippers, welcome back to Retro Recipes. Or if your name is John Titor instead of Einstein, I should say welcome back in time of John Titor, who claimed to be an American military time traveler sent back from the year 2036 specially to obtain a 1975 IBM 5100 computer, making it ideal for a traveler or a time traveler. It also featured IBM's own 1.9 MHz processor, a 5-inch monochrome display, and internal 200 kilobyte tape drive. Yep, no floppy disks here. And it ran BASIC or APL. Now APL is a 1960s array-oriented programming language that used graphic symbols to represent its functions. APL was actually at the heart of Titor's special mission when he logged into a computer bulletin board back in the year 2000 and posted this. Now, in his case, the time machine was mounted in a 1967 Chevy rather than a DeLorean. Now, yes, this might ring alarm bells as being just a copycat of a well-known. Indeed, the suspicions faded for Titor when people had questions and he had answers. Now, yes, in some cases, the answers were kind of vague, but in others, he gave incredibly detailed predictions of the future. And it seems several of them have come true over the 20 years that followed. First, he stated the time machine operated through the use of two mini black holes, producing a gravity field. But Stephen Hawking believed mini black holes were impossible. In response to skeptics, Titor had this to say. But 4 years later, Hawking sensationally retracted his theories on black holes. Next, Titor posed a seemingly strange question back in 2000. This didn't make much sense until perhaps the Columbia Space Shuttle disaster 4 years later, caused by a piece of the shuttle's heat insulation breaking off. And he also described Olympics being cancelled, albeit in 2004, and election voting being hacked. But of course, other predictions haven't materialized. There was no American Civil War. Well, no, actually, he said it would happen in 2004. Anyway, there's also been no nuclear war in 2015 with Russia, but he had an oddly believable reason for why none of that might come true. He invoked the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, simply meaning that he came from a different timeline to our own, and those events happened in his universe, not ours. I can kind of forgive people for becoming so absorbed in the story, with Titor achieving almost cult-like status. Why had he traveled back to 1975 to Rochester, Minnesota, specifically where the machine was created, to collect that IBM 5100? Well, apparently his grandfather was one of the creators of the machine and had actually helped him obtain it back in time. And he'd stopped in 2000 to pay a visit for 4 months, while he also posted on these forums, to see his parents. He went on to claim that back home, his military unit was responsible for retrieving key items from the past that could help them recover from that war, and that IBM machine was a key unit. And crucially, he stated that an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, had been responsible for destroying all of their computers, and therefore any remaining IBM 5100s. He even offered to take people back with him to the year 2036, along with that IBM. The IBM was needed to debug machines used in 2036. Not really so far-fetched. After all, in 2002, NASA did the same thing, buying old medical tech on Fleabay to use as donor machines due to the Intel 8086 chips they contained, which were needed to test rocket boosters. But here's that other detail I alluded to that nobody really should have known about in the year 2000. See, at that time, Titor claimed this. And Titor crucially claimed that the 5100 had a special ability to read older languages. An engineer called Bob Dubk, who had worked on the 5100 back in the 70s, came forward and for the first time publicly confirmed this hidden feature. He went on to explain how the 5100 could actually emulate programs in older IBM mainframe languages via an IBM System 360 assembly emulator hidden inside it. That emulator gave programmers access to the functions of the huge 1960s mainframe computers, but in a portable form factor. Perhaps very handy for a time traveler. And Titor inferred that it would allow you to drop into what he called legacy code and essentially scoop out information. Now, he never stated exactly why, but I could surmise from that because the 2038 problem revolves around the year 1970, that there's something in that 1975 code, because it can access older systems, 1970 for example, that they might have been able to use to solve the 2038 problem. Now, apparently back in 1975, IBM kept the lid on the feature and told engineers not to talk about it. I reached out to IBM's media relations department, and they too declined to comment for this very video. So how did Titor know stuff in 2000 that IBM refused to talk about in 1975 or today? Could posting about a nuclear war have averted a nuclear war, at least in our timeline? Or could actually those allegations against him be hoaxers themselves, time travelers from the future who've come back to try to correct the timelines? But of course, Titor's explanations for why his predictions would not come true, and his insistence that he would rather not be believed, could all just be clever reverse psychology by the ultimate internet prankster. But personally, I don't know about you, but I want to believe that a 1975 antique computer, a portable computer weighing 23 kilograms, one day really does save the world.
Time travel was invented in 2034. Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original timeline. When you turn the singularity engine off, a new timeline is created due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there. In other words, a new universe is created. To get back to your original line, you must travel a split second farther back and immediately throw the engine into forward without turning it off. Some interesting outcomes of this are: 1. You meet yourself. I have done it often, even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to the new timeline and going back to mine. 2. You can alter history in the new universe that you have just created. Most of the time, the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist or books that come out late. The oldest one was a skyscraper that wasn't built in a near-favorite store of mine in New York. Interestingly, when you travel in time, you must compensate for the orbit of the Earth. Since the time machine doesn't move, you have to adjust the engine so you remain on the planet when you turn it off. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564. Everyone who has ever been there has reported that nothing exists. When the machine is turned off, you find yourself surrounded by blackness and silence.
Method of gravity distortion and time displacement. 0073976. Use patent the PDF. For entertainment purposes only, for educational purposes only. Extremely interesting reading. Something for your mind. Quantum soul food. Thanks for watching. For entertainment purposes only. A method for employing sinusoidal oscillations of electrical bombardment on the surface of a singularity. Enjoy your day.